The council chamber was enormous, taller than any building John Carter had ever seen on Earth. Its walls shimmered like liquid metal, reflecting countless lights from unseen sources. Alien delegates hovered or floated in places John could not reach, their shapes so strange that he could not tell if they were solid, fluid, or even alive in the same way humans were. He took a deep breath, trying to calm the nervousness rising in his chest. He had spent his whole life preparing for this moment, and yet nothing could have prepared him for the sight of 1,000 eyes or more, watching him with curiosity, judgment, and amusement. Next to him, Claire Monroe adjusted her sleeve nervously. She was younger than John by 10 years, but carried herself with the quiet confidence of a person who had studied this kind of thing for decades. She had been humanity's science advisor for the mission, responsible for explaining the breakthroughs that humans had achieved in technology, medicine, and energy. The aliens had to understand, she hoped, that humans were not to be dismissed so easily. Still, she could feel the cold, sharp humor from the other side of the room. Even before the session started, they were mocking humanity silently, and John could feel it like an electric charge in the air. When the chamber doors closed, a deep hum filled the room. It was a sound so low and powerful that John felt it in his chest. The council leader, a tall, crystalline being named Zorath, stepped forward. Zorath's voice sounded inside John's mind as much as it did through the air. "Welcome, humans," it said. "We have heard much about your short history. Please remind us why we should give attention to creatures who have barely touched the stars." John swallowed hard. He had rehearsed his answer countless times, yet the words felt fragile against the vastness of the chamber. "We are here," he said steadily, "to share our progress and to learn from others. Humanity seeks friendship, understanding, and collaboration with the galaxy." He tried to keep his voice calm and respectful, but some of the council members were already laughing softly, their alien sounds like glass shattering underwater. A smaller delegate floated forward. Its body was round and covered with soft tentacles that moved like slow water. Its name, John remembered, was Rilvar. "Collaboration?" Rilvar asked, its tone almost musical. "You are a species that has barely survived your own planet's troubles. Your history is short. Your achievements are primitive. You speak of collaboration, but you bring nothing we cannot easily surpass." Claire's hand brushed against John's arm. "It's okay," she whispered, though her eyes showed the same tension John felt. He nodded slightly. The humans had to remain calm. Any sign of anger or fear would be taken as weakness. Humans had always survived against stronger species, through patience, cunning, and stubbornness. Now was the moment to show that. The council began to discuss the human records, their history, and their technology. Each point they mentioned was twisted into a joke. Humans invented faster than light travel? A jagged, insect-like delegate hissed. "You mean you stole pieces from others and barely managed to make it work? How amusing." Another delegate, covered in translucent skin that revealed shifting organs, added, "And your cities burn from time to time, yet you call yourselves civilized. Incredible." John clenched his fists under his robes. He could feel the rage building, but he focused on breathing. He had trained for this. Claire whispered softly beside him, "Let them talk. They don't know us yet. Just listen and record." The humans had cameras, audio sensors, and translation devices that could capture everything. One day, this record would matter. Hours passed. The council mocked, debated, and sneered. They called humans fragile, emotional, unpredictable, and slow. They said humanity would never last in the galaxy because it lacked the perfect traits for survival. Humans were not strong, not telepathic, not long-lived, and certainly not patient like the elder species. Every word was a hit, but John and Claire remained silent, taking notes in their minds and on their devices. At one point, Zorath leaned closer to John, and John could feel the cold precision in the creature's mind. "Do you truly believe your species has a place here?" Zorath asked, almost as if testing him. "Tell us, human. Why should the galaxy invest even a fraction of its resources in your fragile kind?" John held his gaze, steady but not arrogant. "Because humanity survives where others fail. We adapt, we learn, and we create solutions where others see only problems. We may be young, but our spirit is strong, and our will is unwavering. That is why we belong." For a moment, there was silence. Then laughter erupted. Not just from one delegate, but from dozens, each sound strange and unsettling. Some were melodic, some were harsh like grinding metal. John could feel the power in the room, the weight of history pressing down on humans. The council believed it was untouchable, that mocking humans proved the species' weakness. They had no idea how dangerous underestimation could be. By the middle of the day, the council sessions had shifted from polite discussion to open ridicule. John watched as Rilvar floated close to their platform, twirling its tentacles in mock celebration. Such tiny hands for such fragile creatures. You touch the stars, yet you cannot even touch your own piece. Another delegate, a worm-like entity that moved across the floor instead of floating, said, "Your wars on your own planet are endless. You call them history. We call them chaos. Your species is amusing." Claire's fingers drummed lightly on the console before her. "It's okay," she whispered again. "Everything is recorded. Every insult, every joke. One day, this will be proof that we were not treated as equals." John nodded. He knew she was right. The humans were small in the eyes of the galaxy, but the galaxy had no idea what humans could do when pushed to their limits. Lunch was a strange affair. Humans ate quickly, quietly, and mostly in silence, observing the alien behaviors around them. John noticed one species consumed energy directly from light, while another seemed to absorb chemicals from the air. Claire took careful notes, recording how each species interacted, what their strengths and weaknesses might be. Humans were observers first. Humans always learned before reacting. The final session of the day arrived. John and Claire were exhausted, yet they had to maintain composure. Zorath addressed them one more time, and his presence filled the room with a vibration that made the floor hum under human feet. "Humans," Zorath said, "you have shown persistence, but persistence is not power. Strength is not endurance. Your species is amusing, but irrelevant. Take your records and return to your fragile planet. When you learn humility, you may come back." John's jaw tightened, but he did not reply. He simply nodded and said, "Thank you for your time." That was all humanity would give for now. Any argument would be wasted energy. Any sign of fear or anger would reinforce the council's belief that humans were weak. When the doors finally opened and the humans were allowed to leave, John and Claire stepped into the transport corridor. The hallway was long and brightly lit, but the glow did nothing to warm them after the cold, mocking chamber. Around them, alien staff glanced curiously at the humans, some whispering to each other, some still laughing quietly. John and Claire ignored them. Their mission was not to argue, not to fight, not to demand respect. Their mission was to survive, learn, and return with proof of what humans had endured. On the way back to the transport bay, Claire finally spoke in a low voice. "John, do you realize how many times they laughed at us today? Every word we said, every record we made, they mocked it. Even your answer to Zorath. They think we are incapable of lasting in the galaxy." John exhaled slowly, his mind racing. "Yes, I know, he said quietly. And that is exactly why this matters. They think we are weak. They think we are unimportant. One day, the galaxy will remember this session not for what we said, but for what we did after. Claire's eyes widened. You mean revenge? John shook his head. Not revenge. Strategy. Humans survive by knowing themselves, knowing their enemies, and acting at the right time. Today, we were insulted. Tomorrow, the galaxy will see what underestimation costs. The transport bay was alive with activity. Ships of many shapes and sizes moved silently in the zero-gravity corridors. Humans were small among them, fragile, and seemingly powerless. John and Claire boarded their own small transport and watched as the council chamber disappeared in the distance, a glittering monument to alien arrogance. Once the ship was in orbit above Earth, John allowed himself to relax. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the blue planet below. It looked peaceful, almost fragile. Yet he knew that humanity had survived far worse than mockery. They had survived ice ages, pandemics, wars, and near extinction. The council believed they had seen the limits of human capability, but they had only seen a single moment. Claire turned to him. Do you really think humanity can survive the galaxy on its own? John smiled faintly. We don't just survive, Claire. We adapt, we fight, we grow. One day, the galaxy will learn that underestimating humans is the first mistake it makes. Today, they laughed. Tomorrow, they will watch carefully and hope they are not too late to learn respect. The ship streaked through space, leaving the council chamber behind. In the quiet of the human transport, John and Claire began to plan, knowing that the first step was always to observe, record, and prepare. Humanity had been mocked, humiliated, and dismissed, but that was exactly the beginning of something much larger. They were not yet ready to respond. The galaxy had only glimpsed the surface, and humanity, patient and persistent, was already waiting for the moment when the galaxy would have no choice but to pay attention. The transport landed smoothly on Earth, and John Carter felt the familiar pull of gravity beneath his feet. He and Claire Monroe walked out onto the launch platform. The air, cool and sharp, with the scent of the ocean. Humans everywhere were going about their day, unaware of the events in the council chamber, unaware that their species had been mocked before the galaxy. To them, life on Earth was ordinary. John watched people rushing to work, children laughing, and ships lifting into orbit. The simplicity of human life was comforting, but also a reminder. The galaxy did not respect humanity. Inside the Central Command Center, Luke Harris, the naval strategist, and Ben Turner, the logistics commander, were waiting. The room was filled with large displays showing maps of the galaxy, charts of treaty zones, and human fleets scattered across space. Claire entered quickly, carrying the data from the council. The council's laughter, their insults, and their outright dismissal of humanity's achievements had all been recorded, translated, and catalogued. John placed the recording device on the table. They laughed at us, he said quietly. They dismissed everything we have done. They think humanity is weak and unimportant. Luke leaned back in his chair, folding his arms. His face was hard, a man who had spent years thinking about strategy and survival. Weak? He said. We survived ice ages, plagues, wars that almost destroyed us, and yet they think we are fragile? They are fools, and they will pay for underestimating us. Ben shook his head. Not pay now, not with weapons or fleets. That would make us like them, petty and loud. We need a strategy that shows our strength without giving them a chance to mock it. Claire nodded. Exactly. They need to understand that human innovation and adaptability cannot be stopped by their arrogance. But we have to plan carefully. No mistakes, John looked at the group, feeling the weight of the decision they were about to make. We've been constrained by treaties for too long. Each one has limited our fleets, our colonies, and our technologies. The Council sees treaties as a mark of trust, but really, they were a leash. It is time we take it off. The room went silent. Every human in the command center understood what he meant. Ending the treaties would be unprecedented. No human had dared do such a thing. In history, the galaxy had always expected humans to follow agreements, to negotiate, to ask permission. Ending every treaty without warning would send a shockwave through the stars. Luke broke the silence. We need to make sure it is done carefully. Every fleet, every colony, every technology currently restricted by treaties has to be ready to operate independently. We cannot let the galaxy think we are reckless. We have to act with precision. Ben pulled up maps of key systems where treaties had limited human movement or technology. Here, he said, pointing to a cluster of planets near a known council race. We have been restricted from mining certain resources. Ending the treaty here immediately gives us access. And here, he tapped another system. We have been forbidden from deploying defensive fleets. We can now protect ourselves fully, Claire added. And our research. Several energy systems, propulsion technologies, and defensive designs have been hidden or limited by treaty law. We can now use them fully. The Council believes we are weak, but they have no idea what we have been holding back. Weak. John's mind raced. He envisioned the galaxy waking up to a sudden, unannounced shift in human behavior. Fleets would move differently, technologies would be deployed, and humans would reclaim control over systems the Council thought were theirs to supervise. The Council had mocked humanity as small, emotional, and fragile, but humanity had survived far worse than ridicule. Luke spoke again. We will not attack anyone. This is not a war, not yet. We are simply withdrawing our promises. We are ending every treaty. We act as one species. They will see our absence before they see our power. Ben smiled slightly. And the galaxy will panic. Pirates, rogue factions, and rival species will suddenly notice humans are no longer constrained. Systems that depended on our cooperation will start to collapse. It will be subtle at first, but the Council will feel it immediately. Claire's fingers flew over her console. All systems are ready. Communications can be blocked for non-essential messages. Every fleet is standing by. All colonies have been notified to operate independently. The moment we execute, there will be no warning, no negotiations, no explanations. John felt a sense of calm determination settle over him. Then we do it. Humanity has waited long enough for the galaxy to respect us. Today, we act not out of anger, not out of revenge, but because it is necessary. We will no longer let the Council, or any alien race, underestimate our species. The team worked through the night, double-checking every fleet, every communication channel, every system. The galaxy was vast, and the human presence had always been scattered and limited by treaties. Now, without those constraints, humanity could operate freely, but only if every part of the system worked perfectly. Mistakes could give the Council time to recover, and John could not allow that. As dawn approached, the final preparations were complete. The Council's laughter and mockery were still fresh in everyone's minds. But John knew they could not let those feelings guide their actions. Patience, precision, and strategy were the real human strengths. They would show the galaxy what humans could do without shouting or attacking. They would show it quietly, but undeniably. At the precise moment, all human fleets simultaneously withdrew from joint patrols. Trade routes formerly controlled by treaties were suddenly open to human authority. Research labs deployed technologies that had been restricted for decades. Colonies began operating without oversight, expanding resources, and strengthening defenses. The galaxy woke up to a new reality. Alien species noticed first in confusion. Systems that depended on human fleets for security were suddenly vulnerable. Trade slowed, resources shifted, and messages from human colonies were minimal but firm. Humans were no longer bound by treaties. Panic spread through the ranks of council members. They realized, slowly, that humanity had acted without warning. No announcements, no warnings, no demands, just action. Luke watched from the command center as systems across the galaxy adjusted to the sudden change. "It's working," he said. "They don't know what to do first." Every faction, every council member, is reacting to us instead of controlling us. We are finally in charge of our own path. Ben nodded. And the best part? We are not fighting anyone. We are simply claiming our independence. They see it as chaos, but it is order, human order. Claire turned back to John. Do you think they understand yet? Do they know that humanity is serious? No. No. John shook his head slightly. Not yet. The Council has been laughing at us for centuries. They will take time to realize we are capable of more than they thought. They will test us, challenge us, maybe even try to strike first. But humanity is ready. We have planned for this. We will adapt. We will survive. And we will thrive. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy changed quietly, but dramatically. Humans moved freely through previously restricted systems. Technologies that had been hidden or limited by treaties began to appear, strengthening human fleets, colonies, and defenses. The Council was forced to watch as humans achieved what had once seemed impossible without treaties: self-reliance, growth, and influence. Alien factions began to approach human colonies cautiously. Some tried negotiation, some tested human defenses, and some simply observed. Every time, humans acted with calm efficiency, never too fast, never too slow, always precise. The Council had expected chaos or recklessness, but they were met with strategy and discipline. John and Claire continued to coordinate from the command center on Earth. They monitored every fleet, every colony, and every system in real time. Humanity was no longer bound by old rules, and the galaxy had to adjust. John realized that patience, intelligence, and calculated action were the most powerful weapons they possessed. One day, a council messenger arrived at a nearby system. It carried a message for the humans, a request for dialogue. But the humans did not rush to respond. Instead, they waited, observing, preparing. They understood now that the galaxy only respected those who acted decisively. No speeches, no explanations, just action. Humanity had begun its path to true respect, not through power, but through independence. John watched the stars from the command center window. He felt a quiet pride for the species he had served all his life. They had been mocked, dismissed, and underestimated, yet they had acted without chaos or destruction. The galaxy would never see humans the same way again. The first step was always the hardest, and humanity had just taken it. Claire stood beside him. "Do you think they understand yet?" she asked. John smiled faintly. "They will, Claire. They may not admit it yet, but they will. And when they do, the galaxy will realize that humans are not fragile. They are strong, patient, and unstoppable when they decide it is time." The galaxy had been shaken, not by war, not by threats, but by the quiet, unyielding determination of humanity. The treaties were gone, and with them, the chains that had held the species back. For the first time, humans moved through space on their own terms, fully aware of the power they possessed. And in the calm, deliberate way humans always worked, they began to build a future the Council had never imagined. One where humanity would never again be underestimated or mocked. The galaxy had never been so quiet and tense at the same time. Systems that relied on human fleets for security suddenly found themselves exposed. Trade routes that had been protected for decades became vulnerable, and rival species quickly realized that humanity was no longer bound by treaties or rules. At first, chaos spread like wildfire. Merchants delayed shipments. Pirates tested the limits of human colonies. Some alien factions attempted to claim planets that humans had once overseen through treaty agreements. But humans did not panic. John Carter watched the reports with calm focus from the command center. Every move the aliens made had already been predicted and accounted for. Every fleet and every colony knew exactly how to respond. Ben Turner, who had overseen logistics, smiled as he watched systems once restricted by treaties operate independently and efficiently. "It's working exactly as we planned," he said. "They think they can take advantage of us, but humans adapt too quickly for them." Luke Harris, the naval strategist, studied the maps intently. "Our fleets are in position to respond wherever needed, but we are not attacking. We are letting the galaxy feel the consequences of underestimating us. Notice how every faction hesitates before acting. They don't know what we are capable of." 2. Claire Monroe nodded, her fingers moving quickly across the console. She had activated long-hidden technologies, energy systems, and defensive shields that had been restricted by treaties. Human colonies now had advanced propulsion systems, automated defenses, and resources that no alien had expected to see. "They thought we were weak, slow, and disorganized," she said quietly. "They have no idea what humans can do when they operate freely." In one system, a merchant convoy had been ambushed by a group of pirate ships. The pirates expected an easy victory, but instead, they were met with calculated precision. Automated defenses engaged with lightning speed. Human ships appeared seemingly from nowhere, using new propulsion technology that allowed them to arrive instantly from hidden positions. Within minutes, the pirates were trapped and captured without a single human casualty. The captured ships and crews were left unharmed, but sent a clear message: humanity would not be bullied. News of the incident spread quickly across neighboring systems. Alien factions began to realize that humans were not simply withdrawing from treaties, they were reorganizing, becoming stronger, and asserting control in a way that no one had predicted. Panic began to spread through the ranks of the council. Zorath, the Crystalline Council leader, convened an emergency session, his mind filled with worry. "They are acting without warning," he said to the other delegates. "They have not attacked, but their power is evident. Every system we rely on for security is suddenly unstable. What have we done?" Some council members suggested sending fleets to confront humans immediately, while others urged caution. "We cannot underestimate them," one elder delegate said. "They may be young, but their adaptability is extraordinary. If we act hastily, we risk disaster." Back on Earth, John Carter and his team monitored the council's reactions. Claire smiled slightly as she read the intercepted communications. "They still don't understand," she said. "They think we are reacting emotionally, but this is strategy. We are showing them what it means to underestimate humans." Luke leaned forward, his eyes fixed on the screens. "Every move we make is calculated. Notice how systems adjust to us instead of controlling us. Humans are no longer bound. We respond to situations as they arise, not as treaties dictate. The Council is learning the hard way that we are unpredictable when free." Ben added, "And that unpredictability is our strength. They are not used to a species that adapts so quickly. They rely on history and precedent. Humans rely on innovation and intelligence. That difference is now clear across the galaxy." As the weeks passed, more examples of human efficiency and adaptability emerged. In one sector, an alien species attempted to seize a mining planet. The humans stationed there activated new automated defense systems that were previously forbidden by treaties. Mining equipment doubled as defensive weapons. Energy fields protected key installations, and human fleets arrived faster than the invaders expected. The aliens retreated, surprised by the sudden display of human strength and planning. Elsewhere, human scientists deployed energy systems capable of producing vast amounts of power from previously untapped resources. Colonies that had been limited by treaties suddenly had energy to expand, develop new technologies, and reinforce defenses. Trade routes previously controlled by alien factions shifted as humans regained access to resources. The galaxy began to feel the quiet but undeniable presence of humanity in a way it never had before. At the same time, communication networks sent subtle messages to neighboring species. Humans did not demand submission, apologize, or explain their actions. They simply acted, and the effects were clear. Systems were secure, colonies were strong, and humans were capable of defending themselves without reliance on treaties or council approval. The council's fear grew as incidents accumulated. Zorath convened yet another emergency session. "They are not attacking," he said, his crystalline voice trembling slightly. "Yet every system they touch grows stronger. Every fleet, every colony, every technological deployment is precise. We cannot predict their next move. They are proving that independence is power." Some council members began to panic. "We must intervene," one said. "If we let them continue unchecked, humans will dominate every system. They will disrupt the balance we have maintained for centuries." John watched the council's panic from Earth. He understood their fear, but he did not feel triumph. Humanity was not acting out of revenge or cruelty. They were asserting control over their own destiny, something every human had always fought for. Their actions were defensive, strategic, and inevitable. Claire turned to John, her expression serious. "They still see us as children," she said. "They think we are lucky, chaotic, or emotional. They don't understand that this is deliberate. We are showing them the consequences of underestimation." John nodded. "They will learn. Slowly, carefully, but they will learn. Humanity survives because we do not rely on brute strength alone. We rely on intelligence, patience, and unity. Every step we take now teaches the galaxy that ignoring us is dangerous." In one distant system, an alien fleet tried to cut off human trade. They expected humans to panic, negotiate, or retreat. Instead, the human fleet anticipated the move, using advanced navigation systems to outmaneuver the attackers. Supply lines remained intact. Colonies continued operations, and the alien fleet was forced to withdraw in confusion. It was not a battle of weapons alone, but a demonstration of human foresight, planning, and coordination. As more incidents like these occurred, the galaxy began to take notice. Reports spread of humans operating independently, expanding, defending, and innovating at a pace no one had expected. Aliens who had mocked humanity for being fragile and emotional began to reconsider. Every failure of the Council to predict human action was a lesson in humility. Meanwhile, humans on Earth and in space continued their quiet work. Luke coordinated fleet movements, Ben managed logistics across multiple colonies, and Claire deployed technologies that had been restricted for decades. John oversaw everything, making sure each decision was deliberate, precise, and unyielding. Humanity was proving a simple truth. Strength was not always loud or aggressive. Sometimes it was patience, intelligence, and the ability to act when the moment was right. The Council attempted to communicate with human leadership again, this time cautiously. Messages were polite, requesting explanations, negotiations, or promises. But John and Claire knew that responding immediately would reveal weakness. Humanity had acted, and the effects were undeniable. They had shown the galaxy what humans were capable of without even fighting. Weeks turned into months. The galaxy adjusted to the new reality. Systems that had relied on human oversight learned that humans could act independently. Trade routes shifted, colonies strengthened, and fleets operated without the Council's approval. The galaxy had underestimated humans for centuries, and now every species was forced to recognize that mistake. John Carter stood on the balcony of the command center, looking out at the stars. The galaxy was vast, filled with countless species, each powerful in its own right. Yet humanity had carved a path that no one could ignore. The Council had mocked them, laughed at them, and dismissed them. Now, humans had acted without fanfare, without threats, and without chaos. The result spoke louder than any speech could. Claire joined him, her eyes reflecting the distant light of stars. "Do you think they will respect us now?" she asked. John smiled faintly. "Respect is not given lightly, Claire. It must be earned. Today, we have taken the first step. They will see that humans are capable of more than they imagined. And when the galaxy truly understands, it will know that underestimating humanity is a mistake it cannot afford to make." The galaxy was quiet again, but this time, it was the quiet of tension, of anticipation. Humans had shown what they could do without force, without war, and without threats. Every system, every fleet, every colony had adapted and grown stronger. The Council's laughter was gone, replaced by careful observation and fear. In the calm that followed, John Carter knew one thing for certain. Humanity had changed the balance of the galaxy, not through war or aggression, but through intelligence, patience, and unwavering determination. The galaxy had learned, slowly and painfully, that humans were not weak. They were strong, resilient, and unstoppable when they decided it was time. And humanity was only just beginning. Months passed since humanity had ended every treaty without warning. The galaxy had adjusted, though not smoothly. Alien species that had once mocked humans were now cautious, watching every move, wondering what the next step would be. Systems that had relied on human oversight slowly learned to function independently, but not without difficulty. Supply lines were disrupted, trade slowed, and colonies that had depended on humans discovered how fragile their structures had been. The Council, once so confident and dismissive, realized the full scope of humanity's power, quiet, calculated, and undeniable. On Earth, John Carter stood in the command center, surrounded by his team. Claire Monroe worked at the console, monitoring fleets and colonies across multiple star systems. Luke Harris studied maps, calculating positions of alien fleets, supply lines, and human movements. Ben Turner coordinated logistics to ensure that every human system remained strong. Humanity had not sought war, but it had taken control of its destiny. John turned to the team. "The Council will reach out soon. They have no choice. They cannot ignore what humanity has done. Our actions have shifted the balance of power without a single attack. That is strength they cannot deny." Claire nodded. "Do you think they will ask for negotiation or an apology?" John shook his head. "They will try negotiation, but they will learn that humans do not apologize for independence. We act for our survival, our growth, and our future. That is enough." Sure enough, within days, the Council called an emergency session and sent a formal message to humanity. It was cautious, polite, and measured, requesting a representative to appear and explain their actions. Zorath, the Crystalline Council leader, and several elder delegates would attend. But John and Claire knew that any response could be quiet, precise, and still powerful. Humanity had already spoken with action. Words now mattered less than presence. When John and Claire arrived at the council chamber, the atmosphere was tense. The once confident delegates were quiet, whispering among themselves. Some tried to mask their fear with polite gestures, but the difference was clear. Humanity had changed the dynamics of the galaxy. Zorath stepped forward. "Humans," it said, voice resonating in the minds of all present. "We have observed your actions. You have acted without announcement, without threat, and yet with undeniable effect. Every system under your control has grown stronger. Fleets, colonies, and resources operate at levels beyond what we expected. Tell us, why?" John's expression was calm. "We acted to reclaim our independence. Humanity has always respected life, cooperation, and balance. But we will not be limited by treaties that serve only to restrain us. We are capable of operating freely, and we have proven it. That is all you need to know." A delegate with multiple eyes, looking like it had been carved from amber, hissed in disbelief. "But you did not warn us. You did not negotiate. You simply acted. This is dangerous." John shook his head slightly. "Danger comes from inaction as well. The galaxy assumed humanity would follow its rules, respect old treaties, and remain small. We have only acted in accordance with our species' right to exist, grow, and thrive. No one has been attacked. No one has been harmed. But everyone has been shown what humans can do when underestimated." Zorath paused, considering. The other delegates whispered among themselves. Some were frightened. Some were angry. Most were silent. The council realized that the humans had done what they could not imagine. They had demonstrated strength without violence. Respect was no longer optional. Claire added, "Humanity does not seek dominance. We do not need to control every system or every species. We only seek the ability to decide our own future. Every move we have made has been deliberate, careful, and defensive in nature. That is the difference between humans and other species you call powerful." One elder delegate, long-lived and normally confident, spoke up. "You have shown us capabilities that we did not expect. You have grown stronger while others relied on treaties to limit you. This is unprecedented. We must respect that." John nodded slightly. "Respect is earned through action, not speeches. We have acted. Now it is up to the galaxy to recognize it. Humanity has endured mockery, dismissal, and underestimation for centuries. Today, that ends." The council shifted uncomfortably. They had once laughed at humans, dismissed them as fragile and emotional. Now, they realized that humans were patient, adaptable, and precise. Strength did not always roar or threaten. Sometimes, strength acted quietly, deliberately, and with results that no one could ignore. In the days that followed, humans returned to their colonies, fleets, and research stations. Systems previously limited by treaties now operated freely. Trade routes were open, and resources flowed efficiently. Technologies that had been forbidden were deployed, increasing productivity and defense capabilities. Humanity had not sought war or revenge, but the galaxy had been forced to adjust to a new reality. Some alien species attempted minor provocations, testing human responses. In one sector, a fleet approached a human-controlled planet, expecting hesitation or panic. Instead, the human fleet deployed rapidly, using advanced navigation systems to appear in positions the aliens had not anticipated. The aliens withdrew without conflict, leaving humans in control without firing a shot. Every test, every challenge, only reinforced the Council's growing understanding. Humans were unpredictable, intelligent, and strong when necessary. Luke Harris reviewed reports of these incidents. "They are learning," he said. "Every move they make teaches the galaxy to respect us. Every challenge shows that humans cannot be underestimated. That is how we win without violence, without threats, simply by acting wisely. Ben Turner added, and it works across all systems. Colonies function independently, fleets are strong, and supply lines are secure. We have proven that humans are capable of much more than the Council ever believed. Claire smiled as she looked over new data from research labs. They thought they controlled us with treaties. They thought we were small, emotional, and weak. We have shown them that humans operate differently. We act with intelligence, planning, and precision. That is our power. John stood quietly, watching the stars from the command center. The galaxy had been mocked, ignored, and underestimated. Humanity had responded not with anger, but with deliberate action. The Council's laughter was gone, replaced with careful observation, caution, and, slowly, respect. Humans had earned their place not by threatening anyone, not by dominating, but by proving that they could survive, adapt, and thrive independently. Messages from the Council became formal and cautious. Some species reached out, with offers of cooperation, but on equal terms. Humanity no longer responded immediately to every communication, choosing instead to observe and act only when necessary. The galaxy had learned that humans were no longer predictable or constrained. John and Claire continued to lead humanity's operations, strengthening colonies, coordinating fleets, and ensuring that every system was capable of independence. Luke and Ben maintained strategic and logistical control, ensuring that humans could respond to any challenge. Humanity's strength was no longer theoretical. It was evident across multiple star systems, and the galaxy could no longer ignore it. One evening, John stood outside the command center, looking up at the night sky. He saw stars from countless systems, each with its own species, its own history, and its own expectations. Humanity had changed the galaxy, not with war, but with strategy, patience, and careful action. Claire joined him, standing quietly beside him. "Do you think they finally understand?" she asked. John smiled faintly. "They understand now that humans cannot be ignored. That is enough. We do not need them to fear us, only to respect us. And respect is earned through action, not words. Humanity has acted, and the galaxy has learned." Weeks later, the Council convened again. This time, there was no laughter. This time, there was only caution, observation, and careful speech. Delegates approached humans with respect, not mockery. Zorath addressed John and Claire directly, acknowledging humanity's accomplishments and independence. For the first time, humans were treated as equals, not as fragile, emotional, or insignificant creatures. Humanity had proven a simple truth. Strength was not always in weapons, numbers, or brute force. Sometimes strength was intelligence, patience, unity, and the ability to act decisively when it mattered most. The galaxy had mocked humans for centuries, but in the end, it had been forced to recognize the species' power through observation, adaptation, and deliberate action. John Carter knew this was only the beginning. Humanity's place in the galaxy was no longer defined by treaties, limits, or mockery. It was defined by capability, resilience, and careful, strategic action. The galaxy would watch, and now it would listen. Humanity had finally earned the respect it deserved. And as John looked at the stars, he knew one thing for certain: the galaxy would never underestimate humans again.